Hello guys, welcome to a new video. Apple have just released the new 2025 MacBook Air and the 2025 Mac Studio, and today I'm going to be covering these two new products, including the specifications and what's new. So, we were due a new Mac Studio for 2025 with the M4 chips, and if we have a look here we can see the new Mac Studio available from the 12th of March. It's available with the M4 Max chips and the M3 Ultra chips. And then we've also got the new MacBook Air, which is available with the new M4 chip, which is also available on the 12th of March. And we've also got the new iPad Air with the M3 chip, which is also available. So we'll go in order. We'll start with the MacBook Air. Let's have a look. So obviously the MacBook Air has always been Apple's slimmest kind of ultra portable laptop, designed at kind of students looking for an ultra compact laptop which still has the power to do, all the tasks you need. Looks like it's got the same design as the previous MacBook Air. It's remarkably light. It's just 11 millimeters thin, which will help if you're a student and you need to carry around something ultra portable. And it's made with over 50% of recycled materials. It's still got the same notch design from previous MacBooks. They still haven't changed the design, so that's something I haven't really liked on MacBooks, is that little notch at the top. But it still looks like it's got a pretty similar design. They're still offering the 13 and 15 inch MacBooks, and it looks like you've got the MagSafe charging port and two USB-C ports on the left hand side on the 15 inch. And obviously the main difference is the new M4 chip over the previous MacBook Air, and that's obviously going to give you a performance boost over the previous MacBook. It's got up to 18 hours battery life, and it's 2 times faster than the MacBook Air with the M1 chip. Apple are making a huge thing about Apple Intelligence. Alright, let's have a look at the specifications. So if we have a look here, you can see it's the same design as last year. It's got the MagSafe, and it's got the headphone jack and 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, so you can connect to your external displays. Let's have a look at the specifications. So the 13 inch now starts from £999 for the baseline. That's with the 8-core GPU, 10-core CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, 256, which is pretty good for a baseline. That's probably going to be powerful enough for students. Yeah, you've got obviously the 10-core CPU and 10-core GPU, which is for £999 and 256 gigabytes of storage. That's going to be capable for students. For me personally, I wouldn't get the 256 gigabytes, as that's not storage. I think 512 is kind of the minimum. So you can spend a bit more cash and get 512 SSD, 24 gigabytes of RAM, 10-core CPU and 10-core GPU. Let's have a look on that. And you can get up to 2 terabytes of SSD storage, up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. So not as much as what you get on the Pro, but that's not what the Air is designed for. The Air is designed to be, not as powerful as the Pro, but it's designed for less powerful users. So you can get up to 2 terabytes of internal storage on a 13 inch. Let's have a look at the 15 inch. 15 inch obviously starts at £1,199, and for the baseline 15 inch you're getting 10 core CPU, 10 core GPU, 16 gigabytes of memory and 256 gigabytes of storage. Once again, I think 256 gigabytes of storage in 2025 isn't enough. So let's have a look at the top spec model here, which starts at £1,599. That also maxes out at 32 gigabytes of memory and maxes out at 2 terabytes of storage. So it looks like in terms of specifications, the 13 and 15 inch are pretty much the same. It's just you're getting obviously a bigger unit, it's a bigger screen, and that seems like that's pretty much the only difference. Obviously, I'm not sure what the battery life will be. I'm sure probably the battery life may be slightly better on the 15 inch than the 13 inch, but obviously for that we'll have to get units to test. It's available in sky blue, silver, starlight and midnight black. Alright, that's the MacBook Air. Let's check out the Mac Studio, which I'm more excited about as I'm a Mac Mini user. Although I won't be upgrading to the Mac Studio as I've only had my Mac Mini for 4 months. In terms of the design, it's got the exact same design as the previous Mac Studio, which had the M2 Ultra chip. So yeah, I loved the previous M2 Ultra, the M2 Mac Studio. So in terms of design, it looks like it's exactly the same. Apple are making a massive thing about this Apple Intelligence. Obviously the main difference is the chips. The main difference with this new Mac Studio obviously is the M4 chip and the M3 Ultra chip, which is slightly confusing. Why? I'm not sure to why, as they didn't create an M4 Ultra chip. I would have thought usually they'd have an M4 Max and an M4 Ultra, but instead they've gone with the M4 Max chip or the M3 Ultra chip. So the Mac Studio is obviously designed at the ultimate powerhouse. It's not designed for light users. It's designed to be the ultimate powerhouse. So the M4 Max is obviously the beefier version of the M4 chip, and you can get it with the 14-core CPU, 32 GPU, and in comparison to my Mac Mini, which has the M4 Pro chip, that's 12 more cores. It costs £2,099. But obviously you can then upgrade it further if you want 40-core GPU. That costs an extra £300, which bumps the price up to £2,600. And then if you want the M3 Ultra chip, this is where it gets a bit confusing, because obviously the M3 chips are individually slower. So the single core performance is slow on the M3 chips, but in terms of multi-core performance, if you get the M3 Ultra chip, you get 60 M3 cores instead of 40 M4 chips with the M4 Max, which will be interesting to see what the performance difference is like between 40 M4 chips and 60 M3 chips. Because I would have thought that the difference will be not that big, as obviously each individual M3 chip is slower than an M4 chip. So it would be interesting to see what the performance difference between the M4 Max chip and the M3 Ultra in terms of the difference between the 40-core GPU and a 60-core is. And then obviously the top spec, which will cost £5,699 for people with no budget and just, I don't know, they need to render 8K video. That's got 80 cores, which definitely should be faster than the M4 Max with 40 cores. So it's obviously got double the amount of cores, but each individual core will be slower as it's the M3 chip. But obviously it will be interesting to see gain and difference. So I'm looking forward to seeing reviewers testing the performance difference between the M4 Max and the M3 Ultra chip. As I said before, it's really weird. I was expecting Apple to release an M4 Max and an M4 Ultra, but it's a bit strange how they've kind of got an older chip and a newer chip. But it is what it is. So obviously the M3 Ultra is going to cost a lot of money. The main difference obviously over the Mac Mini is it's available with these new chips, and it's available with up to 512 gigabytes of RAM, as opposed to the Mac Mini, which maxes out at 64 gigabytes of RAM. I can't see why you'd ever need 512 gigabytes of RAM, but it's there, I guess, if you need it. It's available with up to 16 terabytes of storage, and if you do decide, you can see that it already is costing us £9,699 if you want the M3 Ultra with 512 gigabytes of memory. That's going to cost £9,699. So basically, a new car. It'll cost even more if you want like 2 terabytes of storage. Let's see how much it costs then. 10,000. So yeah, you don't need a lot of money if you want the M3 Ultra chip. So yeah, that's the M3 and M4 Max, new Mac Studio. Yeah, so there are two kind of configurations, but obviously you can configure. It's designed obviously for the ultimate powerhouse users. The final product that Apple Okay, now we come to the final new product that's just been released, which is the new iPad Air, which is now supercharged by the M3 chip, which is also available on the 12th of March. So all three of these products will be releasing on the 12th of March. Let's have a look. This is the first time I'm looking through these pages, so I've not done my research. So the iPad Air, obviously Apple currently have 3 iPad lineups. You've got the original just baseline iPad, then the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. Obviously the iPad Air and the basic iPad are aimed for users that don't need the full kind of performance and top line features of the iPad Pro in order to save money. So the iPad Air, if we have a look, it's obviously the main thing is now that it's got the M3 chip, as opposed to the iPad Pro, which has the M4 chip. So obviously the iPad Air is not going to be quite as fast as the iPad Pro, as the iPad Pro's got the M4 chip, but it looks like it's still compatible with the iPad Pro Pencil. Let's have a look here. It's still got the same design. I'm not sure if the bezels are slightly thicker on the iPad Air over the iPad Pro. I'll have to wait for full reviews. I know in the past that the iPad Air bezels have been slightly thicker than the iPad Pro bezels. It looks like it's also compatible with the Magic Keyboard. That looks like, oh, it looks like there's a new Magic Keyboard as well that's been released. We'll get into that as well. So this iPad Air is available with the iPad Pro and the Magic Keyboard. It's got one camera as opposed to what you get on the iPad Pro, which I'm pretty sure has got 2. It's got, obviously, the iPad Pro's got the LiDAR sensor and the ultra wide. So you're not getting the ultra wide, but to be honest, whoever used, I can't really see that as much of a downside, as I'm not sure many people really use the camera on their iPad apart from when they're scanning documents. I mean, if you're one of those people that takes photos and videos on your iPad, then you're probably a bit weird. So like the iPad Pro, it's available in 2 sizes. You've got 11 inches and 13, so in that way it's quite similar to the iPad Pro. Let's check out the displays. So according to Apple, the M3 chip is faster. It's 2 times faster than the previous iPad Air with the M1 chip, which makes sense. And it should be efficient for all-day battery life. Yeah, the design looks pretty identical to the iPad Pro, apart from obviously the camera, at least from the images. Apple Intelligence, we know about Apple Intelligence, so it's compatible with the iPad Pro Pencil, and it just connects to the side just like the iPad Pro. I'm pretty sure the iPad Air, at least the previous generation, was only 60 Hertz. So it's compatible with the Magic Keyboard. It's got a 12 megapixel front camera for your FaceTime videos, which I think is an important thing, to have a good camera. At least a front-facing camera needs to be good on an iPad for your video calls. That is something that should be important. And it's still made from 100% recycled aluminium. Alright, let's have a look. So, if we compare it to the iPad Pro, the iPad Pro starts at £999, the iPad Air starts at £599. And in terms of design-wise, they're pretty much identical. So, let's have a look at the differences, because obviously the iPad Air is cheaper, but obviously there must be some sacrifices. So in terms of design, they're pretty much identical, other than the rear camera. So let's see what you're getting for the extra. You're getting what they call the liquid retina display over the Ultra, which means I'm guessing that the iPad Air comes with a regular IPS display over the OLED. You're not getting the ProMotion display on the iPad Air, so it's still 60 Hertz on the iPad Air, which, yeah, that's obviously where you're spending, that's where the extra £400 difference really shows. So the iPad Air in 2025 still only comes with what looks like the 60 Hertz screen, which is kind of painful to use in 2025. And it looks like it doesn't have the OLED screen. I mean, the OLED screen is not a deal breaker, as the regular IPS screen is pretty good, but a 60 Hertz screen, even for £600 in 2025, is kind of a bit frustrating, to be honest. So yeah, obviously you're also getting the M3 chip over the M4 chip on the iPad Pro, and you get one camera over the two cameras which you get on the iPad Pro. But both of them support the iPad Pro Pencil and the Magic Keyboard. Alright, let's have a look at the pricing. So as I said before, the 11-inch starts at £600, and it's available in space grey, blue, starlight, purple. I must say the purple looks quite cool. I would definitely get it in the purple if I was going to get one. The 13-inch model starts at £799. And you can either get it with 128GB or 1TB, and I definitely think in 2025 256GB is kind of the minimum you should really get. Yeah, I wouldn't get 128GB. So if you look at the 13-inch model, 256GB, that's £900, which is still £100 cheaper than the baseline 11-inch iPad Pro. So yeah, you're saving like £300 to £400 over the iPad Pro. Yeah, so it's a good deal for what you're getting. Just, I wish it had the ProMotion display, but I guess that separates the difference between the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. Yeah. if we have a look at the bottom here, you can see the 4 different iPads. So obviously we've got the iPad Pro, the iPad Air, the iPad, and the iPad Mini. Alright, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed me looking at the new MacBook Air, the new Mac Studio, and the new iPad Air that have just been announced by Apple. All 3 of these products are expected to be available from the 12th of March. I won't be ordering any of these products, so don't expect to have any reviews of these products, but I hope this video is useful for anyone that's looking at purchasing either of these 3 products. Thanks for this video, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.